All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. Got a lot of playoffs to talk about today. Jason Zaleski here. Steve Maves on the show again today. He just keeps coming back. It's a pretty good arrangement. A lot to talk about today. High school sports. We've had our first state champions crowned here in the 2019 fall sports season. More to come this weekend, and then more coming here in a couple weeks as football will hit Camp Randall, and then we bring an end to the fall sports season. We're almost there, but we're going to enjoy the ride. We've got a couple weeks left. Love the playoffs. That's why we do it. It's what the regular season's all about, and that gets us to this point. Bring you up to speed on Packers-Chargers from last night. Get you set for Monday Night Football tonight. Put a tidy bow on the Major League Baseball season. And we'll see what else we get into here. You know, a lot of people talk about passing the sniff test or trusting what you see, or saying, especially folks in Missouri, show me. People like to trust their instincts on things, and a lot of times instincts will lead the way, and they will give way, or at least put a temporary pause on facts and figures. People are emotional sorts, and they like to have things pass the sniff test, or they like to have to see it first before they believe it. And when they don't, well, then it's just a guess at times. And what I'm all getting at here is high school football. And there was a big uproar here in central Wisconsin a couple weeks ago as we did our seed reveal special, myself and Steve Maves, and we found out on the way to the studio that the Stratford Tigers football team, ranked number 1 all season long, ranked in the top 10 by a lot of people, just in football teams regardless of division around the state, especially, or at least ranked in the top 20. Some had them much higher, no matter division. And I had put them in a top 10 situation. If you exclude all the D1 teams, I'd put them in the top 10 from D2 all the way on down. Seed meetings happen, and folks, coaches, football teams in the northern part of the state thought, I've seen this team. I've seen a team that I like. I've sniffed this team, and that team was the Northwestern Tigers. And I've seen it. They've showed it to me. And I've heard of your team, but I haven't had a chance to see it yet. So I'm going to take a guess at this. I'm going to put your team as the 2 seed. I'm going to put this team I've seen all along as the 1 seed. And I think that's maybe what happened here. So I had a chance to go up to Maple, Wisconsin this past Friday. Saw Northwestern easily get by St. Croix Falls. The Saints fell, I believe that was 42-7. These scores run up, you lose track along the way. After it becomes out of reach, you lose track. And as a matter of fact, for the entire fourth quarter, I stood on the field. Talked to Brian Smith, the athletic director there at Northwestern. Fine person, great group of people there. As a matter of fact, Coach Kroll doing a great job. The kids there are good. These are just good people. They really are. And as I took a look around and looked at St. Croix Falls, who's also in the heart of the North Division Conference, I thought, you know what? I understand how these people came to their conclusion. I understand how they came to their decision. The Merriwood football fans, just relax here for a minute, as I'm going to tell you something. With St. Croix Falls, the Saints got beat 42-7. That would have been a second-place team in the Merriwood. That's just the fact, and that's a team they beat 42-7. So you can understand how people in that conference, when they went to the seed meeting, at least, and I'm just basing this on what I saw, Steve, on Friday, that this was a team that they said, well, listen, our second and third place teams better than their second, third place teams. Mm-hmm. I happen to agree. They dismantled us, so this is the best team that we know of in the entire state. That is their perspective. That was their reality. Northwestern, for them, had passed the sniff test. They had showed it to them. They had proven it to them. So they had an opportunity to put their emotions behind them, bring facts to the table, and these are the facts that they knew. Good news, though, Steve, and we'll bring Steve Maves in the show right now. They get to settle it all on the field on Friday. Man, it's going to be a great game. We'll have it live at ZaleskiSports.com. It is Stratford at Northwestern, Tigers v. Tigers, and a Tiger will win. A Tiger will win. But, Steve, that's kind of the way I saw it. You may have had a chance to see the highlights of Northwestern, but that's the way I saw it. And sometimes people like to put facts in front of emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, knowing what we know of Stratford and what the Merriwood Conference is and the teams that are in the Merriwood, as you mentioned earlier on, some of these teams from that conference with Northwestern and St. Croix Falls look at a team like Rib Lake Prentice and Tomahawk and a team that Stratford put 80 points on, and then you might look at a game or two of film, and then a lot of the Merriwood people around here don't know what the conference up there is like. Northwestern is a Division IV team, and they were ranked 4th all year long in Division IV. And the St. Croix Falls and the Elk Mounds and the Bloomers, Bloomer got beat by Spencer Columbus, but that's a different story. But you never know what you're going to get with teams that are up north along Lake Superior, along all those smaller communities. And Northwestern and Stratford, again, going back to the seating meeting, knowing that they were going to clash at some point, you knew it was inevitable.
Right.
And it was just going to be a matter of time which team would get the 1 or 2 seed. And I was talking to a couple people yesterday, knowing Stratford, and obviously they got a long bus trip. Those kids will be ready. Those kids will be determined to show why they should have gotten the 1 seed. So, as you mentioned, it's going to be a fantastic game. Going to those highlights, a fantastic venue up there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be one of the best. Obviously, level 3, there's a lot of 1-2 matchups, but it's going to be probably one of the best games, one of the most anticipated games in the state this weekend.
Coach Kroll told his kids after the game, confirmed with me in a post-game interview, this is one of the biggest games in Northwestern history. I'd probably say it's the biggest game, aside from their state championship game about 30 years ago. This is the biggest game that Northwestern will have hosted in high school football. Yeah, it was the other thing interesting, too. A lot of folks from Central Wisconsin texting me. They found out we were going to be up at that game doing highlights. So they're texting, getting score updates. And one of them had, later on, after that score had kind of piled up, said, shoot, maybe we were hoping for an upset. What's funny is all the people at Northwestern, we had a table set up. We had the game live, Stratford, Spencer, Columbus. We had that live on ZaleskiSports.com. And Northwestern folks they were making a pretty routine lap around that table, checking in on that score. And as that score started to pile up, less and less people started making the laps around there. And they likewise were disappointed. I mean, disappointed is too strong of a word, but they were curiously hoping for an upset. Both teams were. Yep. And so, yeah, it's we're looking forward to it. We'll come back to our live schedule here in just a moment. We'll catch you up on football scores from this weekend. These are high school football playoffs. Edgar moved past Hurley 40-0. That was a rematch from earlier, non-conference game earlier in the season for Edgar. So Edgar now will play Gilman. Gilman upsets, they're the 3 seed. They upset number 2 Almond Bancroft at Almond 35-16. So the Pirates going to head over to Edgar for that game on Friday. And they await the winner of Bangor Turtle Lake. And so we'll keep everybody up to date on that as those games happen on Friday. In Division 6, Abbotsford moved past Auburndale 26-21. Number 1 seed Abbotsford Falcons will play number 6 Coleman. Now, how about that? Coleman gets over Bondwell 60-0 or 40-0. They beat the Bears in Bondwell 40-0. Then they beat Manawa 46-21. Coleman's coming with it. Abby, get ready.
Yeah, and just knowing or just looking at the scores, Bondwell, a very good team. Over the last number of years, they were a 3 seed. Manawa finishing second in the Central Wisconsin Conference behind Amherst, and just putting it to them 46-28. The only 6 seed to advance into level 3. So Coleman with a lot of weapons, and so we'll see if Abbotsford, who was squeaked by Crivets and in comeback fashion knocked off Auburndale, see if they can stick with Coleman. Going back to the Abbotsford highlight from our Kevin Bargander, the first time Abbotsford's ever going to host a level 3 game.
That's right.
at Abbotsford High School.
Yep, so get up to the game, have fun up there, cheer on the Falcons. Again, Abbotsford, number 1 seed, Coleman, 6 seed. Top half of that bracket, Regis and Spring Valley, and that will be the one of the premier games of the weekend. Number 1 seed, Regis, number 2 seed, Spring Valley. Both of those teams highly regarded, highly ranked during the regular season. Sometimes too bad that these teams have to meet early on like they do, but this is just the way that the playoffs work. We mentioned Northwestern will host Stratford. That's the 1 and the 2 seed, bottom half of that bracket. Amherst will host number 3 Chilton. Chilton got by Kewanee 41-26. Amherst over New Holstein 31-13. You can find highlights of Amherst New Holstein on Facebook at Zaleski Sports, Stevens Point and Zaleski Sports. Just go in there and search that out and you can find it. And then we'll skip ahead up to Division 1 and just go through these real quick. Kimberly and Appleton North, Bayport and Marquette. Those two teams will play, and then they play the winners on November 15th as this all comes to a head. Superior had got past Marshfield and then upset Pulaski. This is Division 2 football, 36-27. So the Superior Spartans play on. They play the Galloping Ghosts, Kokona. And be careful, Spartans, those ghosts, sneaky. They'll surprise you. You won't even see them coming. All of a sudden, they're there. That's what a ghost does.
Just ask Sam Darnold.
That's right. Medford got past River Falls, 16-14. How about that? Yeah, that's a close one. You don't see a lot of low-scoring games in Level 2, but that was that one. They play Menominee. West of Pier plays Menasha. And then Division 4, not a lot of local teams in Division 4. So that's what we've got going on. Those were the scores from around the weekend. All those teams advancing. They will play at 7 o'clock on Friday, November the 8th. Live schedule on ZaleskiSports.com. We've got live football for you on Friday night, and we will start our night in Edgar as we'll take a look again at Edgar Gilman. We'll be live there, and then also live for what, again, many people had deemed a few weeks ago was going to be the game of the year, Stratford Northwestern. Highlights coming from all over the place, and again, you'll see premium highlights at Zaleski Sports on Facebook. All right, moving on to cross country. We promised in the tease that there are some kids, some teams that are already crowned state champions. It was state cross country on Saturday. Auburndale girls cross country team earned its 3rd straight top 5 finish. They took 3rd in Division 3. Erica Zenner was 35th, Jordan Carl 44th, and Macy Schmeiser was 45th to lead the Apaches. As we take a look at others from the area, Loyal Greenwood, Savannah Schley finished 12th. Marathon finished 10th in the team standings. Marshfield, 2 girls and 2 boys were in the Division 1 races. Joseph McKee was 17th. Joshua McKee was 21st. We've got Marshfield sophomore Elena Konitz. She made her 2nd straight state meet appearance. That means every year in high school she's been to the state in cross country. She finished 33rd this year. She was 6 places ahead of her 2018 finish and 11 seconds better than in 2018. So congratulations, Elena, on making that improvement. We look forward to seeing you at state cross country again next year. Continue to improve. Michaela Dick was 136th place in her first trip for the Marshfield Tigers. Muskego was the D1 girls team champion, 72 points on Alaska 2nd, and Spash was 12th in the team standings in girls. What am I missing here, Steve? At Stratford, James Heeg also competed there. Auburndale's Carl Lundgren, they placed, or they ran in the state meet. Valders won the boys Division 2 team title. Medford, last year's D2 champion, was 4th. Shorewood was the D2 girls champion. Assumption finished 20th in the boys race. Marathon was 14th. There you go, cross country. We'll wrap it up there. So congratulations to all the cross country runners from around central Wisconsin. Nice job, and nice job in the snow and the wind, as it turned out. And I mentioned we'll get to Packers. We'll bring Steve Maves in, though, right now, as Columbus Catholic wrapped up their soccer season. This was boys soccer. Sectional final, trip to state on the line. Northland Pines 8-2 over Columbus Catholic in the Snow Globe game of 2019.
That was something else. Saturday at Washington Elementary Field over here in Rapids, across the street from Midstate. The first half was awful. I mean, it was snowing, it was blowing, it was tough to see at times. I talked to a couple players after the game, and they said that you couldn't see the back quarter of the field when you were down by one of the nets. And and Northland Pines came out firing right away, 1-0 at 9:02 in the first half. Kellen Delaney, as he does, answered right back 30 seconds later. But then it was all Northland Pines Eagles, a very, very good team. Their first trip to state since 2007. It was 5-2 after Tom Nystrom of Columbus Catholic put one in a penalty kick, and then 6-2, and then the backups, JVs, came in for both teams, and that's where Northland Pines finished off 8-2 win. And they'll face Sturgeon Bay, who knocked off an undefeated Oostburg team in a sectional final at Kohler. So Sturgeon Bay and Northland Pines, a good matchup in Division 4 for boys soccer.
All right, soccer state championship down in Milwaukee this weekend. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, you can watch the finest boys soccer teams in the state battle on here to win a state championship in 2019. Again, congratulations to Columbus Catholic on a fine season. We'll come back to volleyball results in just a minute. We're going to take a quick break and send it back to Steve on the Packers-Chargers game. Chuckles right away. Again, you're listening to the Zaleski Sports Show. Jason Zaleski here with Steve Maves. So, Steve, Devontae Adams left the team a few weeks ago, injured something on his leg, ankle, knee, whatever it happened to be. A lot of Packer fans nervous. Well, since his departure, the Packers hadn't dropped a game. They'd won 4 in a row, and they head down to sunny Southern California. And Devontae Adams back on the team. Easy one for the Packers.
Yeah, laid goose egg, to say it lightly. They said there were about 50-50 Packers, Chargers fans, as there usually are at this stadium for Los Angeles. But they just came out flat. It was obviously 26-11, and the game that Devontae went down in with turf toe against the Eagles, they lost, and then he comes back and they lose again. But only 184 yards of total offense going into the fourth quarter. Aaron Rodgers had 61 passing yards. Joey Bosa and the Chargers defense absolutely phenomenal. Ended up with 139 yards passing, only 45 yards rushing. The Packers offense line overmatched from the get-go. They had a lot of early offensive line penalties, holdings, false starts, which you don't see out of Packers this year anyway. And they have even a tougher task next week when Christian McCaffrey comes to Lambeau. He had 3 more touchdowns yesterday. He is an outstanding player, but they got to get it all figured out, obviously. The good thing for the Packers yesterday is that every team of the division lost. Every home team in the NFL won yesterday, 11-0. The only blunder was Thursday night when Arizona lost to San Francisco, but that's one positive for the Packers, is that all the division teams lost. Kansas City beating Minnesota 26-23. Speaking of, they had 52 total yards of offense in the first half. The Packers did. The Bears had 9 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. And it was, at one point there was about 2 minutes left, and they were at negative 10 yards in the first half, and the Bears falling to the Eagles. Raiders beating the Lions. So that's all positive for the NFC North.
Yeah, right. It was. I've got a Viking fan at home. The missus, big fan of the Vikings, and her team dropped a late field goal by the Butker from the Chiefs. And as we continued watching these games, and as they came to an end, I said, "Well, you didn't lose any ground. nice opportunity to win a game for anybody in the NFC North." But he said they all lost. Interesting times. So when that happens, Chargers, Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa on the defensive line. Packers had no answer for those two. Now, I mentioned that game was in Southern California, in Carson, California, one of the Los Angeles area cities, close to the beach. And I'm a big fan of the beach, and apparently J.K. Scott is too, punter for the Green Bay Packers. If you had a chance to see this, and those that are watching online right now, we'll put a picture of Mr. Scott up. He had about the shortest shorts on that I've ever seen an NFL player wear. I mean, he had more leg exposed than shorts covering himself, or clothing cover. And so it looked like he was going to head down to the beach after the game. I had never seen somebody wear pants that were shorts and then shorts that were that short. He didn't have much on, but J.K. Scott, interesting fella anyway. A lot of punters are. Yeah. So that's how that is. Monday Night Football tonight. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. Now, I don't think anybody, NFL people included, thought, oh, we're going to feature this game because the Giants are going to be really good and all, that kind of thing. So people wonder out there, why in the world is this game even on? The Giants are horrible. The Cowboys are, whatever you think about the Cowboys. Well, the fact of the matter is that New York City audience is just so large, and the largest media market in the country, that you'll get the Jets and Giants on way more often than they deserve to be. But that's what's going on tonight. So Monday Night Football tonight. Otherwise, if you're not a fan of the Cowboys and Giants, you could quilt a blanket or do something else in the meantime. So there isn't anything else. Baseball is done. The Astros fell to the Nationals late last week. Nigh a home win. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but nobody could win a home game in that series. So it went 7, and the Nats over the Astros. So baseball is done. You might be able to find some professional bowling on perhaps tonight, but otherwise, Cowboys Giants tonight kick off just after 7 o'clock. Back to high school sports as we talk about volleyball. We had an exciting volleyball season here in central Wisconsin, but for teams in the area, that all came to an end on Thursday, as we had live games at Fall Creek, and we were live in Marshfield. Steve, we'll start with your game, and that was another one of those. If you've been listening to the show at all, when volleyball seeds came out, we previewed Columbus Catholic and Newman Catholic. Newman had the better of Columbus in the playoffs anyway for the past number of years. In quads or other Saturday tournaments, Newman actually had fell to Columbus twice, but sometimes in those tournaments, not everybody plays. You do. It's kind of an experiment sometimes. So how much stock you can put into one of those? But it was another 5-game masterpiece and another Newman Catholic Cardinal win. Steve.
Yeah, that one of the best volleyball matches that I've been to. I had the opportunity to call it, and it was obviously a great atmosphere, always at Columbus Catholic with a great atmosphere. And it was at one point in the second set, Newman was down 12-8. Lauren Shields, as she has done in her whole career, went back and served 10 in a row. And it was just a phenomenal match. Give credit to Columbus Catholic, came back in the fourth set to take that fourth set 25-15. Mm-hmm. And then in the fifth set, it was just all Newman. A couple mistakes by the Dons, and then Newman able to advance. And then they knocked off Urbino Leona on Saturday night in Suring, and they had another comeback in that first set. They were down 24-20. They came back and won at 26-24, and they're headed to state once again, and they'll take on, I believe, Clear Lake. I think Newman Catholic got the 4 seed when they reseed the team, so Newman's headed back to state. But Columbus Catholic, a very, very good volleyball team, losing 4 seniors, but they should be right back there again next year.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. Columbus Don volleyball fans, listen to us right now. Next year, long ways away.
Yep.
So, but I know I saw Coach Cat Eagle and a couple of the girls from the Don's volleyball team last year over in Green Bay watching state volleyball. So go do that, and because it's something it's something to see state volleyball, state whatever it is. And then that mental preparedness, being able to see yourself in that position can do a lot. On Thursday, Stratford fell at Fall Creek. That was a rematch. That was a sectional semifinal in 2018 at a neutral site that Stratford had won. They beat Fall Creek, the Crickets, in Neillsville. This year, the WIAA saying, all right, we're not going to do any neutral sites till sectional final. So the better team will host the sectional semifinal. So that match was at Fall Creek, and Fall Creek won that in 4. and quite an environment over there in Fall Creek. They love their girls, the volleyball. Anywhere from the students, from little kids to high school students to all the way on up. Those people really get behind their Crickets, and they're having a fantastic season. Just like Newman Catholic, then they went on to their sectional final match and won in 3 straight. They took down St. Mary Catholic 25-20, 11, and 16. And I didn't see the seedings there for D3. Haven't looked them up yet. But Fall Creek goes to the state tournament. Much deserved trip to the state tournament for the Fall Creek Crickets. And again, Steve, just for the teams that lose, and these are playoffs, this is what happens. You play to win.
Yep.
But when you lose, it certainly can be disappointing. And oftentimes it just seems like next year just so far away.
Yeah, and it's never easy, especially once you get past that first weekend of regionals, sectionals. You know you're going up against a very, very good team, and you're just that much closer to getting to state, and you have a little hiccup or a little misstep, and then your season's over. I mean, volleyball, there's an opportunity. Obviously, you play 3 games, but momentum is such a huge part of volleyball. Mm-hmm. And I saw that in Marshfield at Columbus Catholic on Thursday. And the momentum swing was so drastic in favor of Newman Catholic. But again, it's so hard that you know that there's all these teams vying for just 4 spots in your division. Yep. And top 4 teams, or the quote-unquote best 4 teams, are going to state in all the volleyball. And like you said, go to Green Bay to watch the girls volleyball. Yeah. Boys volleyball there again this year right. For the first time, combining both boys and girls volleyball at state this year.
Yep, head on over there. The state championship games are on Saturday. And so head on over to the Rush Center in Green Bay. It's a good facility. You'll have a good seat when you get there. Mm-hmm. And just go and take it in. Maybe you're going to cheer somebody on. That's great. If not, just go take it in. It's certainly a sight to behold. Certainly soccer, same thing down in Milwaukee this weekend, so you may have to kind of pick what direction you're going to go. For me, it's an easier choice, volleyball indoors this time of year, soccer not. But if you've got a reason to go down and watch soccer, obviously you'll stand outside, because that's what you do to support your school and your student athletes. We had mentioned earlier live games. We'll go through those one more time, a little bit louder for the kids in back. Stratford at Northwestern is live on ZaleskiSports.com. We will be there with WDLB. Gilman is at Edgar. We'll be live there. We will see about who's going to call that game. But both of those games, and this is important, folks, when you're looking for a live stream partner, when you're looking for a premium broadcast, you want to have play-by-play in that broadcast. And Zaleski Sports, the only ones to bring it to you. And the way to make sure you're watching an authentic Zaleski Sports broadcast, look for the Zaleski Sports logo in the top corner of the screen and turn up the volume, and you'll hear premium play-by-play from all over the place. And it's important because you want to know what's happening. The folks at home want to know which of those kids was involved in that tackle or that scoring that point or whatever it was. And Zaleski Sports is the only one that brings all of that to you. Highlights also will be found later Friday night. These are football games on the Zaleski Sports Facebook network. Coleman at Abbotsford, Chilton at Amherst, and Spring Valley at Regis. And when it's all done, we'll put the package together, all 5 games on the highlight for you as well. So you can watch that and find out exactly who won those games and relive all the glory from the past weekend. And then also of special note here as we begin to wrap up today's show, we have got a brand new day in the life that's out right now, and it is Marshfield's Joey Gadel, quarterback on the football team. Put together a good performance. Again, a day in the life. If you're not familiar, you can find that at ZaleskiSports.com and on Facebook at Zaleski Sports. It's our series. So we put a new one out every couple weeks, and it's a series that shows what it's like to be a student athlete in high school, from the time that student wakes up in the morning till the time they go to bed at night and on game day. And it captures that whole thing. And I know, Steve, I talk about, back when I played, but, it is not, it's rewarding. It's not easy. It is rewarding, though, to be a student athlete in high school, and the day in the life just helps to capture that and show the rest of the public what it's like to be a student athlete here in central Wisconsin. Yeah,
and Joey did a fantastic job. I mean, the day in the life, Joey, going from when he wakes up to the end of the game, we had one local Version Gamble did one.
Yeah.
But it is really neat to see what these kids go through. As you mentioned, when you played or grew up and I played, these kids have so much more going on than even when I was there 7 years ago. Obviously, student comes first, then athletics come later. But even nowadays, sports are such a draw to so many kids, and it's such a implemented thing in your mind that even if you are a student, you think of that game all day, all week long, and it's in your mind game day. And just go take a look at Joey's day in the life. It is he does a fantastic job.
You had mentioned, Steve, it's a full day. Lincoln's Version Gamble, Marshfield's Joey Gadel. Film prep in the morning of the game. I didn't have anything like that. We woke up, we went to school, we ate our breakfast, we showed up at the game later on, hoped that we won. There was no... we looked at some film. It was earlier in the week, but there was no such thing as getting to school at 6 in the morning to watch film. So these kids have a full day. All right, and again, that is on Facebook right now, Day in the Life. Live sports again this weekend. We've got double-barrel football action coming in Edgar and in Northwestern. Gilman at Edgar, Stratford at Northwestern. Watch it live at ZaleskiSports.com. For Steve Maves, Jason Zaleski here as we wrap up today's Zaleski Sports Show. Guys, thanks for watching, and go Sports.